that might have even happened at Isilon. Because as I said, the head of LGBTA, whatever the QBTA, sits right behind me, and he's worked there pretty much since.
So let's say that it's built into the structure of the company when it started.
So my suggestion is that's part of the culture of the people at the startup level, not because government stepped in and said at some point we're going to control you. But now, if you
so
go
give
back
me the
for
example.
other companies,
Hold on. Give me the example then of an instance where it was the hand of government.
Any company that's been historically around. So IBM at some point
is forcing that.
In IBM at some point in the 70s was found to be polluting the Hudson River in New York.
Right.
Badly, to the point where now it's a Superfund cleanup. So, and GE did it, and a bunch of companies did it along the Hudson River. But one of the big ones was IBM had a pipe. Literally, I remember seeing a video of a pipe dumping directly into the river chemicals from producing circuit boards and all that stuff.
Go on.
So in that case, now we're talking about a company that's becoming socially conscious because A, they were caught, and B, the government really did step in and expose what they were doing, right? So where the failure is to me is not that the state got involved, but that the company did not have the culture of protecting other people in the greater environment over making money.
Okay, but you just told me... Well, hold on, let's bring this back around again. Because you just told me, you made a good point on my side here.
I did.
Yes, you did. About social media bringing the scope and the reach of the company.
Not in the 70s. Social media didn't exist.
I'm not saying that. But you made the point that once the hand of social media comes into play and the interconnectedness of fucking everybody, it's almost as if the responsibility of that company, that transaction between consumer and company, gets a lot smaller, like it was in the small business sense. So I would think that, let's fast forward and let's take the incident, the Hudson River incident, into the future. Let's say it happens tomorrow. I would say that people getting on social media and just fucking blasting that company to the point that nobody wants to do business with them is pretty effective. And that government, at this point, government is completely fucking irrelevant because it's the power of the people who can literally bring these companies to their knees.
Really? So all of these people are then going to go out and dredge the Hudson River and do a Superfund cleanup, which costs $100 million and will take 20 years to take all the contaminated soil out of the bottom of the river. So government has the follow-up infrastructure that you need to deal with this. Also, if the company were to go out of business, that's great. Does that mean they're not financially responsible for the damage they've done? Usually what puts these companies out of business is bankruptcy after they've been sued the hundreds of millions of dollars to get the money back for what they did in the first place. That's what puts them out of business. So unless your anti-government group has the power to now bend these fuckers over and get their money out of the bank so that we can fix what they did, that's a problem. So government, however they implement it, and again, it's not implemented correctly, but the fact that government can step in and strong-arm that stuff. Now, granted, from an environmental perspective, 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago, they had very little power in this arena. But nowadays, thanks to being backed by social media and people who are conscious about where they live and their kids eating lead and all this stuff, nobody's getting away with it anymore because they're backing the government to push these initiatives through. Now, could we sideline the government? I think in some cases you probably can, and in theory it probably would be good. But I don't honestly think you would have the enforcement capacity. Unless you pull together all of these anti-government folks and you had 200,000 of them standing around this company physically, literally like physically locking this company down, you're not going to have the enforcement capacity of, of the EPA,
okay, but we're into another point though. We're into another point. You contended though that with social media, people have the power to have a hand controlling these corporations, or bigger businesses. Let's take corporation out of it entirely.
To control it, to maybe stop the behavior.
All right, that's fine.
What about the reparations?
That's
what
fine.
About the damages?
All I'm saying is that the ability of the people versus company is there. It's back down to a manageable scale. Now you're talking to something else. So something has happened, and like, how the hell do we deal with it afterwards? Like you said, the aftermath infrastructure. Why is the mechanism of consumer business still not valid? Well, now you've got this company that's in this town that has done this fucking thing. Their money is in a bank somewhere. So people could easily then strong arm banks to pay for what has happened in that community. Now, I know there's going to be some big, super huge instance where it's a multinational and the fucking bank account is not.
Insane.
But they're like, these are like little things that can be figured out. And if you're not trying to fucking keep an eye on.
So then as soon as you say that, I go back to what I'm saying. When you say figure out, then what you're suggesting is there's a system to deal with it. As soon as you say there's a system, I say that's politics, and all you're doing is playing politics in a different arena. You can't do it without a system. All politics is, all government is the best attempt at a system to deal with this stuff in mass. Not here in this little room, but for tens of millions of people.
But we don't want to do, that's the point, we don't want to do it in mass. We would rather do it in a...
done in mass.
Why?
Because the water that's contaminated 100 miles away comes downstream to your bedroom. And if you can't deal with it here, how are you going to have the power to deal with it up there? The only way that they can be dealt with up there is the government up there does it for you as a proxy. They're not going to do it the way you would. Maybe you'd go up there with a gun and put it into somebody's head. Maybe you'd take their money. Maybe you'd shut them down. The government's going to go in there and assess it and try to do it fairly and say, well, here's this, here's that. You guys need to make money. These people need this stuff, but you're poisoning these people. Well, we're going to levy $100 million on you, whatever, right? So fair is certainly an arguable point. But my point is if that wall went away, you would have to come up with a system to deal with that guy 100 miles away, because he's not going to listen to you because you don't live by him and you're no threat to him whatsoever. So the only way to get that done is to use a system as a proxy. As soon as you put the word system in there, or any kind of thing that's going to be repeatable,
it doesn't have to be a huge fucking system.
It doesn't have to be a huge system, but there has to be a system, i.e. government.
People just figure it out amongst themselves. We don't need a third party to do it. It's the third party that it oftentimes...
Again, the guy 100 miles away, you're not going to figure anything out with him. If I were that guy, unless you drove up to me to talk to me, if you called me, I'd be like, fuck you, hang up the phone. You call me again, fuck you, hang up the phone. You drive up to me, fuck you, push you off my property. You're not going to have the ability, and that's 100 miles away. What if he was on the other side of the country?
Then I go back to, you contended that in a small 5-person business in a small community, that transaction still holds true. Yes. So it's the same if you.
But even if you move that but then so let's use that same example. You move the small 5-person business 100 miles away, but they're polluting your water. All the people in this community, all of them can bitch and moan. They don't care. They're not going to listen. They're going to go. Now, the people around them directly may care, and you might get some leverage with them, but they themselves, they're 1,000 miles away. They don't care.
Then we show
up.
You
can kick and scream all you want.
With pitchforks.
Right. But pitchforks is where government started in the first place, where everyone said, why are we using pitchforks? Let's do something else.
That's right. We don't want to deal.
So all you're talking is the evolution.
You are right. That is exactly what it is. People decided that they didn't want to do it for themselves anymore, so they gave over that right.
Or that it was too barbaric, or that it wasn't effective, or whatever the reason was. I'm sure there was a myriad of reasons. But as soon as you go down that path and say, okay, well, let's figure out another way to do it, it's called a government. I don't care if it's a scratch your own ass government. I don't care if it's a brand new government. I don't care if it's one guy in a room. It's still a government. Now you're talking about a systemic approach for dealing with problems across society. Government.
No, we're talking about voluntarism, where all transactions are voluntary, person to person,
and it will never be all voluntary, Christine.
And oftentimes,
I can't voluntarily get you to not talk politics with me, so it's not going to be voluntary.
You can't voluntarily get me to not talk politics with you.
It's not voluntary, dude. It's never going to be voluntary.
It's so voluntary for me. I just open my mouth and the shit comes out. I can't stop it, man.
So going back to my point on all this stuff is that it's not wrong or bad what you guys are saying, but if a logical, thoughtful, intelligent person comes up with these counter arguments,
there's lots of thoughtful, intelligent people.
Oh well, we're going to just shut you down, or well, there's blah, blah, blah. What I want to hear is tangible responses. Otherwise, you get put in the same bucket as all the other smoke-blowing politicians. I'm sorry. To me. Now, someone else might say, well, there's more substantial there. Or, wow, this is better than Clinton. But better than Clinton to me just
The
says,
argument
okay, you're still
cannot.
government.
The
whatever.
argument for the rest of the world cannot be, yeah, this system that we have is totally shitty. But you know what? We can't possibly sit down and think of anything better. So let's
Well,
just
what
keep
I'm
fucking
proposing is
doing
that
it this
someone
way.
come up with something better first, and then start spouting it off.
Well, if you remember, the way this country was supposed to be set up was state governments were supposed to be far more.
Listen, I would say let's scratch the whole governmental process if we could, because here's why. We have modern technologies,
Yes.
modern thoughts,
Yes.
modern economies that are not what our government built 100, 200, 300 years ago. So,
And they would probably be a lot further along if government got the fuck out of the way. Go on.
so I'm perfectly content and happy to agree with the entire system should be revamped. And if it means starting from scratch, great. Then get the greatest minds in the fucking country together that we can, as best as we can, put them in a fucking room, let them go to work, and come up with a solution. But
Why? Why can't...
because
Fuck,
I don't
dude.
hire an electrician to be my plumber.
You have bananas. I want bananas. And how the fuck am I going to get bananas? You and I are going to fucking figure it
I'm
out.
an expert in
Why?
getting bananas. You've never even tried. Why do I want to hear your thoughts on it? It's a waste of time.
Exactly.
I'm an expert already.
I'd rather just fucking pay you for the bananas, and now I have the bananas I want, and you've got something
And
else
how's
of
that any
value.
different than the society we live in
It's
now?
a goddamn transaction that we can figure out. So these things, these little things that come up about, well, who's gonna do this, and how is this gonna get done? Exactly like how you and I fucking figured out the banana conundrum.
Right, and a guy 100 miles away doesn't give a shit and isn't going to implement it or care or even listen.
So you have to fucking work with these people. It goes bad.
Then you're talking politics and government.
I'm not. Okay, fine. So the government, here, the government that I want to have, since just having a fucking transaction with somebody in your eyes is government.
No, well, maybe, but again,
It's a government.
if your
It's called
life is gonna-
self-government.
If your life is going to be a single transaction without consequences downstream, awesome. But good luck with that, because again, now you're out of the realm of even reality, and it's not worth talking about.
Oh, Jesus.
If you live that, if you quantified it to your life, then you're talking about thousands or tens of thousands or millions of transactions across a lifetime, all with individual rules based on what? 10 million people doing millions of transactions every day without any control.
Wow. Oh my God. Think about it. Oh,
Yeah, think about it.
think about it.
It's not good for the greater society, Christine. Everyone's going to do what's best for themselves. I mean, that's it.
But when
Which
two,
is why you're called anarchists in the first place.
but when two
'Cause that is
people,
anarchy.
when
I mean,
it's not, no, we have a transaction, we make rules, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be mutually beneficial for both of us. It's always better
Right.
when these two parties negotiate rather than
assuming
pulling
there's no downstream effects on the environment or another person. You and I have a transaction to go burn a ton of wood. The smoke that goes in the air that pollutes another fucking state and 10 million other people's fucking air. Again, the transaction has downstream effects. We don't care about that. So if 10 million people were making these types of transactions without consequences for the downstream, everything would be fucked overnight. And frankly, I care way more about the earth and the environment than people anyway. So all of this can go suck it. And if my utopia got to exist, a bomb would fall from the sky and every living human would fucking disappear into vapor, and the earth would be left to itself. And I'd be perfectly happy with that idea.
Oh, you're bomb proof now?
I'm talking about me going with it. I said every human. Because I care about the earth more than humans. The only reason we have all this shit is to preserve our own fucking asses in the first place.
We can't even have a conversation about anything because you'd murder all of us.
Well, I assume you guys are trying to find
You
a
are
solution
a
or a better society,
you are-
and my better society is the removal of humans.
You are a
so
serious asshole.
it's a bigger, it's even a better solution than trying to talk politics and salute anything. It's just like, get rid of us. Let's make it easy and fucking annihilate the human race. You want to talk supreme anarchy? There we go. Oh my god, I want to wipe out all humans. I mean, that would be my preferred answer.